You go back to the root of the word, success just means an outcome. That came out of a massive, what people might call a failure, if we look at it through positive, negative. It wasn't, it was a success because it was an outcome. That once he said it, I was like, oh my God, that's so obvious, but I hadn't seen it. So because of that success, which some people might call a failure, I was like, oh, well, it makes sense that the next group program I should launch, I should do it with people who already know me. Oh, that's men. So let me share a definition of success that was taught to me by a mentor of mine over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that has stayed with me ever since. If you look at the etymology of the word success, it's got the same root as succession. It came from the place of the next thing. Now, if you Google the word success in the dictionary, it has some definitions. And one of the definitions, which says like defunct next to it, as in it's no longer used in this way, is an outcome. Somewhere along history, we changed the word success to mean a positive outcome. But actually, if you go back to the root of the word, success just means an outcome. So if you want to be successful, that means you're somebody who has a series of outcomes. So exactly. Now, does this mean that's true or right? No, we get to choose and we get to create. And I found that really empowering, because you're right, because we get into this thing of, well, your success, my success, who determines it? It gets all over the place. And that's not, I'm interested in growth for me and growth for my clients. So when I pull it back to an outcome, now that takes all of that thinking and it takes all of that out of the way. Now, hey, the only way you're not a success is if you don't have an outcome. Well, actually, that's quite easy. There's not a really high bar. So if I make an attempt and it doesn't go well, which has happened more often than you might think in my coaching practice, it's not like, oh, that was a success and that was a failure. No, they're all successes. And I have a series of successes. And this is true for all of you. How many of you try something, it doesn't go well, and that's been like who's had that and it's like the biggest learning? So people see that one of my biggest successes, if you like, in the positive way, is my men's immersions. People know that, they see it, they sell out really quickly. What people might not realize is that came out of a massive, what people might call a failure, if we look at it through positive, negative. It wasn't, it was a success because it was an outcome. In 2014, I launched an event. It was my first group event. It was for women. And I had one client sign up. I spent £50 on marketing and the revenue was £25 for the ticket. And I did it with another coach and she kept the 25 quid because we did it through her business. So I lost £50. But I learned so much from that because I was like, hold on a second, why did this not work? I did everything. You know, and I was in a group program at the time. I was like, I did what my mentor asked me to do. I got advice from everyone. And you know, sometimes you get in that victim place of like, well, I did everything I was supposed to do. How is this not working? And I went back to my mentor and went, look, I did everything. You looked at my website, you looked at the copy, you did this. How did I only get one person sign up? And he looked at me and goes, you know what it is, Kush? I said, what's that? And he said, you don't have a really big community of women that follow you. All of your stuff is aimed at men. And it was one of those things that once he said it, I was like, oh my God, that's so obvious, but I hadn't seen it. So because of that success, which some people might call a failure, I was like, oh, well, it makes sense that the next group program I should launch, I should do it with people who already know me. Oh, that's men in that personal development space. So that's where I did this men's intensive. Now, again, that wasn't what people might traditionally call a roaring success. Because when I went to launch that one, I got into needy marketing mode and I didn't realize. I was online and I was like every day, every second day promoting this intensive, this 2-day intensive in 2014, promoting. And I was in this community and one of the guys messaged me and he's like, hey Kush, you're kind of getting a bit spammy. And my immediate response was, no, I'm not. I'm not spammy, I'm just trying to, right? And then I calmed down, I'm like, yeah, I guess I am getting a bit spammy. And I realized my spamminess was not having anyone sign up. I was just shouting. And so I took that to Steve Chandler and Steve goes, who do you want to have in the room? Contact that person. So I was in this particular Facebook community which was all men, all into personal development. They were kind of my target audience. So I'm spamming this group. Then Steve goes, who do you want to be in the room? So I think of someone. I'm like, oh, he would be great. He's in the group, right? So I'm assuming he's seen it. So I send him a private message. Hey, I'm running this thing. I'd love for you to be in the room. And I genuinely would, like, they were my ideal client. And they went, are you running something? And I'm like, yeah, have you not seen or? No, we haven't seen anything. So they hadn't seen all my spammy stuff. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. And so I was like, oh, I can do this more and more. So I started inviting loads of people that I wanted to be in the room. Out of this failure, you might say, or something that wasn't the desired outcome. And people started to sign up really quickly. The following year, when I started my first ever men's immersion, I knew now, oh, I've learned the lesson. So when I'm going to fill this men's immersion, which was more expensive and it was more people, I was like, I'm only going to go out and contact people I want in the room. And it sold out. And then everyone was like, how did you sell out? Well, I had a couple of things that didn't work out. They were my successes, which led to this success. So it's all connected.